When we look at peace or the institute itself, we are looking at the trends in peace, we are looking at the economic value of peace. Can you be in position to do business when there is war happening? Can you sell your stuff? Chances are high you can't. We are looking at how to build and develop peaceful societies, and also to see our relationship, as I started, our relationship, what the extent of ongoing domestic and international conflict. How is the war in DRC affecting us in Uganda, both as citizens and as students? I'm sure in our classrooms we have friends who are coming from other countries. Do you ever ask yourself why? Okay, would you want to go probably to DRC to study from there? Why would you say no? Now we are trying to tap into that response. We're trying to understand this a little better. Now we have 3 measures of peacefulness globally. We have what we call the Global Peace Index. We also have what we call the Global Terrorism Index. Then we also have what we call Ecological Threats Index. Okay? But now we're going to start with the Global Peace Index. Now with this, we are trying to quantify the level of peace. Okay? Some things are hard to quantify. Okay? Just because it cannot be physically counted. But we're trying to quantify how do you measure the level of peace you have as an institution. For example, in MOOCs. When you enter MOOCs, do you feel the peacefulness in MOOCs? Okay? While you're here studying, do you feel like at any one time anything wrong can happen in our institution? We have a police station here. There was a study that was conducted previously about having the police stations in universities. It puts students at unrest because there's that negative relationship between the police and the students. Students are tempted to believe that the police is always going to be against the students, not so? So, us having a police station inside the university, does that cause students to be a little more at peace? Or do they feel like, police is always going to be interfering in our issues? That is what we're trying to understand, okay? So, how do we quantify this? We're trying to understand, now this, with the Global Peace Index, now for example, in Uganda, we're looking at an average period of 5 to 10 years. Because you cannot measure peace in 1 year. Because today, things are okay. When we go into the election cycle, things can go wrong at any time. But then, if you can measure that peacefulness even within 2 electoral cycles, for example, the cycle that we are in from, the previous elections, national elections. Now, if you can be at peace after the elections, we have what we call the post-election period and then the after. Okay? Now we're trying to understand, before the election, how is the situation in the country? If during the election, how is the situation in the country? Then after elections, what is the situation in the country? If you can do that for a decade, those are 10 years, then you'll be in position to rank your country. That is why for most of the times, as I showed you in our map, for every African country that is able to go beyond their electoral cycle, if they can go into elections, declare someone who is not the incumbent as the winner, and then that person who has been declared swears into the next government. Without fighting, such countries are considered to be the earmarks of our country, of our continent. Okay? The challenge or the fear is always in, we are going to vote. After voting, will the incumbent accept the results? Let's go back to our university here. Okay, with the guild presidents, you have prejudice, but you have to go. But suppose they had the chance of staying, will they accept to go? Chances are high they will not go. But after being defeated in an election, you should be in position to say, you know what, for the good of my country, for the good of my society, let me can do other things, let other people serve. So, how we measure that is through the Global Peace Index. Now, if you look at our country, some of the findings that I was able to dig out were, on a scale of 1 to 5, the lower the score, the more peaceful. Which we may not go through all this, but we're trying to go through some of the things that I found that are key. On a global average as a country, globally, we are an averagely peaceful country, regardless of what the news says. Because of the first example I used, There's so many people who are flocking into the country as a sign of peace. Every time you have so many people gathering in the country, that should be the first indicator that, you know what, probably yes, our country is peaceful. Because nobody runs to a country that is not peaceful. In our 163 countries, we are ranked as 124. Peacefulness. That means, regardless of what is being said, there is some relativeness of peace. We say the lower the what? The lower the scale, or the lower the score, the more peaceful. Now, when we are looking at these rankings, we are trying to understand what is the level of the criminality in our society. Let's go back to roots here. How many times do we have students locked up because of conflict, so and so took this? Do we have such cases? If you don't have students that are flocking into the cells or having charges with the police, it shows the level of peacefulness within the society. Let's go now outside our university to the police stations around us. Are they full? Probably none of us has visited them recently. If every time you're visiting these police stations they are full, chances are high the criminality in society is high. That could be an indicator that there is some level of unrest. Because why would you be in police stations? What is our percentage? How many police officers do we have in our country? The more police officers you have in a country, it's an indicator that chances are high people are going to have either riots, insecurities, or the level of criminality is high. Which means you need to have more police officers to handle the level of criminality within the country. Okay? So, homicides. Homicides, these are people who kill themselves. Probably it could be through a conflict, it could be a home conflict. You disagree on land issues and all that, before you know it, one person is killing the other. When you go back to our university here, how many students have died, how many students have killed each other because of conflict? If there is none, it's an indicator that the environment is more peaceful. But if you're in an environment that people are constantly killing themselves for whatever reason, it means the level of peacefulness is very low. And there is need for us to intervene as peacekeepers. How many people are in our jails? When you look at our police post here in moves, how many people are in the jail right now? How many students are there? The mere fact that we recently concluded an election and there's no one in the police station there, it means people are peaceful here. But we also have other institutions, and whenever there's an election, there's tension. Students even fear coming to school because you know what? We don't know what is going to happen next. So the more people that we have in our jails, it shows the level of peacefulness as a country. Access to weapons. Does any of us here have a gun? Anyone with a gun here? Do you know why? You don't think that where you're going to encounter trouble, that you need a gun to defend yourself. You don't. Otherwise, if you thought where you're going is not safe, chances are high you would have come with your gun, or you wouldn't have come at all. So access to weapons. The more people have access to weapons, chances are high the score of peacefulness is now going to be inverse. There's going to be more unrest. Because at the end of the day, the tensions, okay? Chances are high if you say what I don't want to hear, idea, chances are high you will be talking to your body soon. Okay? If you say what I don't want to hear, other than me telling you know what I'm not interested, chances are high you're going to respond. We're looking at organized conflict, internal. Allow me to spend more time on this. Let's go back to our country, to the news. What is happening in Acase? What is happening in northern Uganda? What is happening in eastern Uganda? All these things, chances are high and it is said. Most of these things are organized internal conflicts. Organized internal conflicts. When you look at the tribal conflicts we have in our country, they seem to be outside our institution, but they follow us wherever we go. The footprint we talked about. Okay? Because chances are high, you're going to belong to one tribe, I'm going to belong to one tribe. And when the news comes out, I'm going to make a comment about someone's tribe when they're here. Do you think there's going to be peace in that country? Chances are high you're going to conflict over that. But then the conflict has come from outside But you came with it because you belong to that tribe, and someone has given their public opinion about your tribe. Organized internal conflict. The political instabilities, the rallies that you see, the weapons exchange, the export, the imports. Recently, the government bought helicopters from Russia. I think we all saw that on the news. The more the government buys or imports weaponry, it's important that weaponry to use it for good. Who is it going to use it for? Are they income generating weapons? Just as high those weapons are being brought into the country to communicate, it shows. So the more weapons that come into the country, it shows exactly where we are as a country. But remember, we said the lower the score, the more peaceful it is. And the higher the score, the less. Displaced persons. This is very common. Most of the land grabbing in this country. Okay? People are being displaced every time. That's why it's the score. The score is 1. Because we have so many people who are being displaced internally. We have heard of people who have left Western Uganda to go and settle in Northern Uganda. So the people who are in Northern Uganda, so we expect them to be peaceful about that. And it's not like people are buying the land. People are forcefully settling on people's lands. Okay? Now, as for in this institution, it starts with what I said initially, that we are studying in this institution and it's peaceful. But then we are going out of the institution to face these things. Just as a hanging in the near future, you are the person who may be displaced. You're not in Kampala, you find yourself in Arua. But then also Arua has its own inhabitants, people who are staying there. And you're going to displace someone there, either in peace or by force. Okay? But I always encourage us to do things in peace. Now, terrorist activity. Let's quickly look at the military expenditure. This is classified, but with these statistics, it shows. With these two, it shows our military expenditure. Every time the military is spending a lot of money on buying weaponry, deployments, it shows as a country our stand. Why are they spending so much if we are peaceful? Or they are spending to make sure we are peaceful. Okay? So we as students, also now we move near the barracks here. We need to be very careful about certain things. Okay? Because they are simply a walk away from our institution. So, the UN peacekeeping funding. Now, with this UN peacekeeping funding, we need to understand that this is money that is collectively collected, or it's collected collectively. It's not that Uganda contributes as a whole, okay? But you will find that there is nothing happening in Kenya as much, but we have all contributed and then something happens in Uganda. So chances are high we are spending Kenyan money in Uganda whenever we have conflicts and riots. The conflicts and riots that are happening in Congo, we are spending Uganda money. We are spending money from European countries and their citizens just like we are here. So we are spending their money on conflict issues. Okay? So we need to understand that the more money they spend as UN, the more they will have the mandate to come into these countries. Okay? So as for in this institution, and we are sure getting out, it's very important to understand why we need to always have peace. So that we don't have to have external bodies coming in, because whenever they come in, as they exchange this hand is also doing something else. This is our famous business hub, Chikubo. This is Chikubo on a normal day. Chikubo on a normal day. Just pause for a moment and think if someone exploded a bomb in that Chikubo with that operation. Imagine the casualties that would be there. Okay, let's leave the bombs. God forbid, we have an outbreak, a disease outbreak in Chikubo. Imagine how fast it would spread. Because all these people are coming from different families, different divisions, different districts. And at the end of the day, they all got into different taxis or buses or use borders to go back to their homes. Imagine how quickly an outbreak can spread if it started in Chikubo. So I used to think that even you was in a university setting, chances are high you'll be affected by something that you're not even part of. Because that person in Chukwu will be buying a book to come to class. Not so? Probably that person in Chukwu is first working, then in the evening they come to class. Are you seeing how fast the outbreak would spread? So we're looking at it in two ways. It could be an outbreak or a bomb. Chances are high it could be you or a relative, you know, a friend, you know. That is why we are studying all this, to show you that as we are in this institution, there is more to this institution out there that will affect you in one way or another. These are students. These students wake up every day, they go to school. Never at any one time do they expect that anything bad can happen to them while they are at school. But then we have also had cases of students being abducted from schools. They are out there trying to be enabled, they are fighting for their future, but then someone else other than that is looking at them as potential targets, they are customers for abduction. These are students, they attend school, they know school is normal, but then they don't know what's going to happen next. Suppose in an outbreak, or someone comes in and they're abducted, someone plots a bomb while they're at the assembly, anything can happen. Our next slide here is about elections. Now, let me give you a very quick scenario. If our country was not peaceful, chances are high it will be very hard for you to even stand against the incumbent. We see these things happening in other countries. You go into an election, there are contestants in the election. But then you only hear one person. Why is that? It shows you the level of peacefulness. The mere fact that you can come out, yes, there's a lot that is going to be said, you're going to be done, this and this is going to happen. But the mere fact that someone stands up and says, you know what, even me, I want to lead. It should show you a certain level of peacefulness. Otherwise, people would keep their heads down. So, we're trying to measure ourselves as a country, even you who's here. We're trying to look at some of these things. So, if we have more than one candidate, regardless of the situation, standing up in an election, and people actually go and vote for that person, they don't vote for different members of parliament, different from those who are in the incumbency. It should show you something. Yet, still, a lot is still missing. Now we're done with the global peace index. Let's look at the global terrorism index. When we look at terrorism, we're not simply looking at bombs exploding. Okay? We're not looking at bombs exploding. But then we're also looking at the times those bombs have been set and they did not explode. What if they had exploded? We are looking at the people who are dead because of these explosions. Then we are also looking at the people who have been injured because of these explosions. Because chances are high, someone is not going to die, but they're going to have prolonged or a lifetime damage or probably injury on their lives. Okay? Because of terrorism. So we're looking at the incidences, we're looking at the people who died, we're looking at the hostages, the injuries, and we're looking at a period of 5 years. Our overall score is 3. That is on the average, depending on what is happening all over the world. This is our global score. So regardless of what is happening in our country, there is some relative level of peacefulness when it comes to terrorism. But then this does not take away some of the issues that are earmarked here. I think we can all remember the attack on General Tumba, the daughter and the driver. Terrorism. We can remember the attack, the famous machete attacks in Masaka, that caused some of the members of parliament to be, I don't want to say they were prosecuted, but to be concerned, and it was a national issue. The machete attacks in Masaka. While we were mourning the death of our deputy IGP, even at the funeral at his home, there were unattempted terrorist attack on his home. Why? Because prominent people were all gathered in one place, and terrorists looked at it as an opportunity to send a message. So while we are mourning, it's a plot for other people. Okay? Let's look at the recently detonated bombs. One at the parliament, then one at CBS. Because this is so recent, you remember some of these issues, right? Yes. One at the parliament, then let's go back to 2010. People who love soccer. People who are famous visits of Chadwell. This is what Chadwell looked like on the World Cup of 2010. So while people gathered to enjoy football, to enjoy soccer, to have a good time, someone outside the country or within the country was plotting to do this. So are you saying that you are not concerned about politics, you're simply a student? You're simply a student. But then somehow you're going to find yourself involved in something you don't even know. Either you as an individual or someone you know. Okay? Because these attacks, when they're coming to attack, they don't first ask for the national ID, where you stay, are you a student or not? No. It will simply happen. And then at the end of the day, you will also be a number of those who have been affected. Let's just watch a short video here. You see what I was talking about, the issue of terrorism. It makes it a bit more concrete as to why we're making this presentation in a university setting. Because while we're in our classrooms, we tend to look out some of the realities of the world. Okay? Because wherever we go, wherever you go, chances are high you are exposing yourself to danger. This thing, the bomb blast is not so far from our institution. We all know Chadwell. And chances are high, it is our usual hangout place, not so? But there is a reason as to why international security bodies always issue terror alerts. Usually see them on social media. Terror alerts, they try to inform us that there is something happening beyond what we see. Okay? So this is what we mean by us knowing that we need to be on the lookout every time. We need to be on the lookout because anytime as you're trying to have a good time, you're chilling, you're hanging out with your friends, you could be on someone's agenda for news. Okay? You could be on someone's agenda for news. And guess what? Even our institutions are not exceptional. That is why we have security checks at the gates. Okay? But because this is a public institution, yes, even besides the 2 gates we have, these people can always enter the institution from other avenues, not because it's not like our fences have electricity around there. Okay? So it's very important as individuals to first understand the status quo, that as we move, anything can happen. Okay? But then later on we shall understand why it's very important that if each and every one of us is part of this process, it will make the world a better place. And chances are high, everyone will be their brother's keeper and their sister's keeper. Let's go to our third index, the ecological threat index. Now, I tell this straight to Uganda because we have so many examples here, and everything I've written down here is in clear line with what is happening in our country and in our society. The first item is pollution. If you're to look at pollution, let us go back to where we reside. Let us go back where we reside. Pollution. Chances are high we also contributors of pollution. If we are still using charcoal, we are contributors of pollution. The question is how best can we use that charcoal and it not being part of the ecological threats. When you talk about ecological threats, we're talking about phenomenons that are either natural or man-made. Not so? Because we talk about tsunamis and droughts. Okay, there is a process leading to the drought and the tsunami, but this is something that could be out of your control. You have no control over it. Okay? But then our footprint, our contribution as human beings, what is your contribution to the ecological threats of your country? Are you a contributor, positively or negatively? One of the items on my list is water scarcity. Just as a high most of us access water through opening, simply turning a tap. You go to your bathroom and there's a tap in your compound. But then beyond our institution, we have people who walk miles to go for water, and they're not even sure whether they will get it or not. That's why I started with saying that we are privileged. As for here, we are We are privileged, and unless we accept and understand that, we may not be in position to understand this picture. These are people lining up to get water. But the reason that's why those jerrycans are piled like that, chances are high they may not even get water that day, and the jerrycans have to stay there until the following day. Water scarcity because of the ecological threats. We have deforestation, the ozone layer. Now let's look at the next picture. This is a gentleman, chances are high he's either cleaning this jerrycan or fetching water. Not so? But then in the background of the photo, we have animals feeding in the same water. So we're not sure whether he's fetching water or washing his jerrycan. But one thing I'm sure of, that this is a human being doing human being activities or chores, but sharing the same water body with animals. We all suspect what can happen. It could be a disease outbreak, it could be cholera, it could be an influenza, anything. But this is happening because of the ecological threats that chances are high we have contributed to. That's why we share the water body. Let's look at our next picture. These are droughts, not so? There's always a worry, also in our cities, that whenever it rains, chances are high we don't want to go to Kampala town. You don't want to go downtown. Do you know why you don't want to go downtown? You fear you may run into this, and with your open shoes and white sneakers, chances are high you'll come back brown. That's if you're lucky enough to come back with shoes. This is what will happen. Because of the ecological threats that we have contributed, and then the water has no water system that it can go through. So you're free to either blame yourself or blame the leaders, but there is a problem. I'm trying to indicate that there is a problem. There is a what? Chances are high these trees did not fall down by themselves. Because otherwise, if they fell down by themselves, then God is really a genius. Not so? God is a genius. The mere fact that they all fell down in the same angle and the same height. This is deforestation caused by us, human beings. Unless we do something about it, we're going to keep having these extreme temperatures. Okay? We're looking at the broader perspective of the footprint of peace. Because peace is not simply the absence of violence. All these are contributing to peace. Because when you're feeling hot, are you peaceful? Just as the high people were almost walking naked. And there's a relationship between temperatures and people's tempers. Whenever it is hot, people should taper. I'm not a scientist to prove that, but with the experience I have with working with people, it is true. Whenever it is hot, for example, between midday and 3, just as a high you receive a slap from someone who did have slapped you. Okay? This is out of experience. People's tempers are high during those hours, the peak hours of the heat. That is what is going to happen. But the cause is what we are saying here. We have a serious issue, as I said. Let's go back to our environment, where we stay. The polythene bags, the plastics, all these things. Where is that smoke going? It's going into the neighborhood. It's going into our food. It's going into the air that we breathe. And then you ask yourself why people are suffering from diseases they don't even know. But because of this, in our attempt, chances are high people collected this rubbish to keep their communities clean. But then they're keeping their communities clean by setting the rubbish on fire and then further polluting the environment. Okay? So even as we're trying to do some of the things for the environment, we need to be very careful on how we do them. So people organize the community cleanings, the Rotary people. We need to understand why we are doing that cleaning at the end of the day. Where does it lead us to? Where does it lead us to? While I was starting, I explained to you the chances are high you can be in an institution when everything looks peaceful on the outside. Not so? Or in our families, in our hostels. People look at the hostel, people look at the institution, people look at the family, and they are sure everything is okay. Just because there is absence of violence, people are not going to each other's necks. But now we're trying to differentiate negative peace and positive peace. You can have a peaceful institution outside, it looks peaceful, but what is inside? People at each other's necks. When the lecturer enters class, everything looks peaceful, but inside the class there are capons, there are different groups, this one did this, no, this one did this one said this, again it's my lecturer now. Everything looks peaceful on the outside, but in the inside, people want to go to each other's throats. That is what we are trying to quantify and separate. Negative peace, as I say, the absence of violence and fear of violence. Okay? Chances are high I want to do something to you, but in my nature, I'm not the type that is going to get a gun and shoot you. Not so? But then if I had an opportunity, I would. That means if you tell me something that is good, chances are high I will be negative towards you. But without causing harm to you. That is negative peace. People are not fighting, but then there is no peacefulness, there is no cooperation. You're going to tell someone, some people want bad days. Bad days. Okay? People are not fighting. But you're going to invite people on your birthday and they will not come. Okay? But then you're not fighting, but they will not come. Just as a high, they probably don't feel comfortable, or for any other reason. But that is an indicator of absence of peace. I don't know if what I'm saying you can relate it to your personal lives there. So that we need to understand, the only way we can be peace builders or agents of peace, the only way we can leave our footprint in that wherever you go, people feel the peace, is by first understanding what peace is and the different segments of peace, and that is what we are doing this morning. Positive peace, your attitude, the institutions, the structures. If these three things are meant to be in order and everything is driving towards peace, chances are high you will have sustainable peacefulness in that institution, in your homes, or wherever it is that you come from. Let me give you a very good example. Having presented this, you who are here, chances are high, any day after this presentation, you're going to be looking at peace in a different perspective. Okay? Peace in a different perspective. I am building what we call attitudes. I am building attitudes. You who are here, you're going to be those peacemakers, the peace builders. Chances are high, even if in your heart you wanted to do something bad, you're like, anyway, let me look for peace. Because at the end of the day, it is your peace, and you want to share it with others. I'm simply building attitudes. Then institutions. For example, in this institution, me having counselors, or people in positions of leadership that have the counseling ability, and they understand what peace is, those people will always be in position to teach others. For example, during conflict management, imagine you're conflicting, A and B are conflicting, and you come to your team leader and your team A. You tell the team leader, you know what, so and so did this. They're like, oh, okay, you keep them. The only way that person can pay back, you do this. That's team A. Team A goes out of the office. Now team B comes with the same problem, they're looking for a solution. You instead of providing the solution, you say, having learned that A told you this and you told them to do ABCD. Now when team B comes to you, you also tell them, oh, don't worry, for you also do it. It's a tit for tat. As a person in the leadership position, in the management position in our institutions, if you're the type that puts team A against team B, chances are high before you know it, you're also going to be a victim of that conflict, of the absence of peace. Because whenever these two teams, mostly if they're your juniors, if they are conflicting, chances are high you as the management, you as the team leader, you as the student leaders, you as lecturers, chances are high, whatever it is that you're going to be delivering is going to be delivered with resistance. And guess who's the root cause of this? The poor people who are in the institutions and the position of management. If that person is not a peace builder, trouble. Same goes to our families and in our relationships as friends and in our families. If the mother and father put the students one against the other, just as a high, if your father one day will come back home and there's already a conflict and they will knock you out of the gates. because there is no one in a position to open the gate. Or the conflict escalated so much and they both refused to cook at home, so you have to come back and cook for yourself. Are you seeing how you being a victim of the conflict you escalated yourself? Institutions and structures. So in our departments there, in our classrooms there, in our societies, we need to have structures that sustain peace. And that structure is going to start with us who are here. In our societies, the attitudes we are building here, wherever there is conflict, always be the agent of peace. Now, for us to understand peace a little more, we need to quickly dive into the 8 pillars of peace. Now, if you look at these 8 pillars of peace, this is the entire understanding of our being as individuals. First, a well-functioning government. A well-functioning government, that's at national level. But now we can bring this back to our societies. For the LC1, there's also one about a well-functioning environment. In the university itself, the relationship between management and student leaders. The relationship between management and student leaders, well-functioning government, equitable distribution of resources, free flow of information. Now I understand everyone is on social media, whichever platform that you use. The good relationships with neighbors. Good relations with neighbors can be at a national level, at an individual level. Okay? An individual level. It can also be at an institutional level, because now we look at mobs. Mobs board as another institution. Supposing we are at war between mobs and the neighboring institutions. Yet, as you're going to Total, you pass in front of the neighboring institution. And let's give a scenario. Just as a highway will be strong. High levels of human capital, acceptance of the rights of others, low levels of corruption, and sound business environment. Let's quickly look at some of these things. A well-functioning government. To those who are not so familiar with leadership and politics, I think now this is a nice opportunity to get a recap. The relationship between our parliament and the executive and the judiciary. All these arms of government, as you see in our first point, they all have their different roles they're supposed to play. They all have their different roles they are supposed to play. Trouble comes in when any arm of government here tries to play another person's role. Imagine the judiciary trying to play parliamentary roles. There's going to be conflict. Imagine the executive trying to do parliamentary roles. There's going to be a problem. And these are some of the challenges that you see here. So us who are still young, and by any chance you may want to go into that structure, understand where you're going and the roles, so that you can clearly execute your role while you're there. And your first role is to promote peace in that arm, in whichever it is. Back to our institution, we have management and student leaders. When students start playing management roles, chances are high there's going to be conflict. And then when management tries to interfere with student affairs in the way they shouldn't interfere with, chances are high there's going to be unrest in the university. Okay? There's going to be an unrest in the university. So, when you're looking at the well-functioning government, you're looking at the quality of service delivery. The quality of service delivery. Yes, there's medicine in our hospitals. Okay, let me take that back. The hospitals are there. Not so? The hospitals are there. But is there medicine? Quality of service delivery. The hospitals are there. Is there medicine? So the well-functioning government should see that the structures are there, and then the services are also there. The degree of participation. I remember telling you, if anyone can stand up and say, I want to challenge the incumbents, there's something of peace problems. But at what level are they participating? The degree of participation. Yes, you're participating, but what is the degree of participating? So, the quality of laws and policies. Well, this goes back to Parliament and probably the entire arm of government. Okay? We are trying to understand the quality of laws. One of my arguments one time in certain presentation I was making to people in education was one of the biggest challenges we have. Now here, to be a student leader, first of all, you must be a student. Okay? To be a guild president in this institution, you must have a certain unique qualification that makes you a guild president. Terms and conditions. Okay? Now the qualification for a junior student leader and a top student leader, they are different. Why? Because we're in an academic institution. Let me take you back to our parliament. What is the minimum qualification of a member of parliament? Senior 6. But the laws they are making, these are ecological laws, these are global laws, do they understand economic laws? But then they're making decisions about economic policies. Okay? We have people sitting in the different committees, but do they understand the weight of the decisions they are making? The quality of laws and policies. This is what I'm trying to tell you. If your guild president here does not understand the laws of the university, if he does not understand the educational laws, do you think he's going to make the best decisions in education for the institution? He will not. That is why these key terms and qualifications are very much important. Okay? To specify the quality, it's not just about making laws, but the quality of laws. As we look at our ecological threats, for you to be a leader right now, you should be in a position to understand climate change. The decisions you're making about climate change as leaders. Okay? Equitable distribution of resources. People who are, most people who are into Rotary activities, Rotaract. Is it Rotaractors? Okay? Rotaractors and then Rotarians. We are looking at community engagements, not so community projects. Why are we doing that? Is that you who has the ability and God has blessed you with resources, can you sacrifice some resources for others? Equitable distribution of resources. You was very blessed to have education. Now, after attaining your education, can you share that education with those who are not as privileged as you? Okay? That is why I still, in one of my discussions with one educationist, I told them, if we are in class and you cannot take back what you are studying in class to your family, then you're wasting your time and you're wasting their time. Okay? Because if you're studying economics, you're trying to teach, you're trying to understand why a bag of soap is 10,000 so that you can go back and explain to your parents who are complaining that the bag of soap is high. Not so. We need to understand. This is why we are into education, community development. You having the ability to learn what you have learned and take it back to your community, transfer it. Community development projects, Rotarians, Rotaractors. Now, supporting local economies. Local economies means that retail shop in your village. Why would you leave your local shop in your village and then you can't buy at a supermarket? Very far away, you have to make border. Just the hard you even the person working in that retail shop, but you go to another village for go to a supermarket and buy things there. For example, when you have a friend trying to start up a business, okay? Why would you leave your friend that you know in the neighborhood is trying to start up a business, and you have to travel miles to buy the same thing you would have bought from your neighbor? You get the point? That's what I'm saying. Support local economies. The supermarket you're going to, chances are high, they're already established. But the retail shop that you're underlooking, this is someone you know, and chances are high when you have a problem, this is the person you're going to go to. So support local economies. That friend of yours, this day is called support my hustle. Support their hustle. Okay? Support their hustle. That is what it means by supporting local economies. And when you do that, chances are high that person is also going to be successful, and you're going to have an equitable distribution of resources. The other rich people with their supermarkets, they have their supermarkets, but then even people in your communities, businesses will grow, and before you know it, there's employment, there's peacefulness, and the whole society will benefit. Target the marginalized. When we talk about the marginalized people, we're talking about people who are not much considered. People living with disabilities. I don't know if the ladies are still, all the culture is still a marginalized group. I started to doubt. I don't know if the ladies are still a marginalized group. Okay? But we need to target these marginalized groups. You who is not disabled, at least physically. What special thing can you do for the people who are disabled? Equitable distribution of resources. First thing we need to do is to make sure that these people can access some of the facilities that they can access. And the first thing I will already say for the marginalized group, most of the disability people, If there are facilities that are gazetted for people with disabilities, we need to respect them. The first place is the washrooms. If a washroom has been gazetted for people with disabilities and the signpost is very clear, please leave it if you're not disabled. Because chances are high people are going to use it, they're going to leave it dirty. And I'll use another example that someone used one time. There are people who, before you walk with your legs, not so. What happens with people who walk with their hands and they're walking into a washroom that has been misused by you who is not disabled? You're walking in with your feet, the place is not so clean, and they're using their hands. Now, let's reverse the roles. What if you're the one who's disabled, walking into the washroom that you have left with, and you're the one using hands? That is the image I'm trying to bring to you. So, always make sure that the marginalized people are looked at. Free flow of information. Local libraries. All of us here are, I have to call them academicians. We are all learning, and learning never stops. How many times do you visit the library? Okay, how many times do you read something that you're sure you don't know and you read it just to know it? Do you even know the local library around your home or around your village? Okay, for this institution we have a library that is well labeled the main library. Apart from this library, do you know any other library? Educational workshops. I would call this probably a workshop that we're also working on. For us to learn, like I said, it's free. Meetings and webinars, people who should enjoy online sessions. I'm sure at least we have attended an online session before. For someone, we have, the last one is fighting fake news. Let me put some emphasis on fighting fake news. If you agree with free flow of information, free flow of information does not give you the authority to create your own news where there is no news. And as young people, we are always driven by fake news. Fake news. And fake news starts from those links we share in our WhatsApp groups about scholarships. The government is giving 10 million. MTN is giving data 2 GB. This is all fake news. You see those things that you share? Because I'm sure all of us here are victims. Someone has shared the link. If not, you're one who has been sharing that link. That is all fake news. So let's always make sure that we are looking at trusted sources in our community. Who is a trusted source of information? In our classrooms, who is a trusted source of information? Because you cannot tell me that any random person can have more information better than the course leader or GRS. You can't. Because if there is information about your lecture, chances are high it's either going to be the GRC or the course leader. You're not the course leader, you're not the GRC, but for some reason you know everything. How? In the university like this, there is no one who has more credible information than the guild president. Because he sits literally on every committee of this university. So if it's not him communicating, then why are you communicating fake news? Okay? So let's always be vigilant. And the more we are vigilant, the more we shall look out for information that spreads peace. There are people I know that for them, I don't want to sit back and listen. They love things that have gone sour. And all they will do is to share links about negative news every time, whether it's true or not. Okay? So let's not be that type of people that spreads only negative. But for you, the only thing you spread is negative news. About individuals, about institutions and all that. Good relations with neighbors is another pillar. Now, as I said initially, we all have different backgrounds. We all belong to different tribes. We all belong to different religions. Not so? What will happen if I came in front of you and the only thing I was saying is about my tribe and my religion? Chances are high people will start walking out one by one. Not so? Culture, cross-cultural exchanges. It's okay to intermarry. One tribe married from another tribe, one religion married from another religion. And that is why we have platforms like the Interreligious Council to make that possible. Because imagine if one tribe was only married with their tribe. Chances are high other tribes will have nothing to tell you. And it will simply be that tribe. Okay? But then when we have cross-cultural exchanges, chances are high if a Muganda marries a Musoga, Baganda from that family who are married in Musoga, they can never say anything bad about Musoga. Because they are married from there. If you have a Mugisu or someone from northern Uganda marry someone from western Uganda, chances are high those two tribes or regions in that family will not conflict because they are married from their different tribes. So, for us to promote peace, we need to understand that cross-cultural exchanges are very good. They may not be about marriages, but they can even be through cultural gathers. And the recently completed cultural gather. It is not really a competition, but it's an exhibition. You're trying to make people appreciate that it's okay to be a Musoga. It's okay to be a Uganda. It's okay to be a Westerner, okay? It's not a competition, it's an exhibition for us to have peace in our society. So that when they find you wearing a kanzu or you're wearing whatever it is you're wearing, it is not a crime. Intercommunity dialogues. Let me refer this to MOPS and the institution that is neighboring us here. It's okay for us to leave this place and go to UICT and hold a conference there. So that the students there also know that it's okay for them to leave their institution and come here. Then when will you conflict if you're doing that? Chances are high they will look at you as brothers and sisters, other than those people. If the environment is those people, chances are high you're going to conflict. But if people are exchanging from that community to this community, and then this community to another community, then when will you fight? You will not. Peace education programs, just like this. Well, this program is not funded by anyone. It's funded on an individual basis. Now, when we have such peace education programs, as I said, us who are here, we are going to be the next ambassadors. Wherever it is, the footprint I talked about. You always here, chances are high by the time we are done, you're going to have a different understanding about peace. That is not simply the absence of violence, but the attitudes, the institutions, and the structures. Let's go to the high levels of human capital. Healthy, educated, and skilled persons. Healthy, educated, and skilled persons. Yes, you're healthy, that's why you're in school. You're educated, so you're in school, or you're in school to be educated. At the end of the day, are you skilled to promote peace, human capital? So that whether you leave Kampala and go to another district, you are skilled, you're educated, and you're healthy to promote peace. Volunteering in schools and hospitals. These days, volunteering is the way to go. Because that's the only way you're going to get experience in doing these things. That is why we do internship. Internship is voluntary. Okay, yes, there are marks attached to it, but you're not going to be. It's either going to be in a school or whichever area that you get fit. Mentorship and training programs. We are trying to understand that sometimes our problem is not really the jobs, but the lack of mentorship and training. And that's where the challenge is. Acceptance of the rights of others. Okay? I always say, it is my right to make as much noise as I want. It is my right to make as much noise as I want. But then if my noise is disrupting someone else's sleep, I think that would qualify to be a crime. I'm now abusing another person's rights by saying it's my right to make noise, not so. But then, how can we accept the rights of others? By exercising your rights without watching another person's rights. It's okay for you to promote your rights. But then what is not okay is promoting your rights vis-a-vis another person's rights. It is your right to make as much noise as you want, not so? But then you're not going to be shouting for me. Why would you be shouting for me? At least you be in your room and soundproof and make as much noise. But if you're making noise and you're shouting for me, then you're promoting your rights by abusing my rights. So, human rights initiatives. This is not going to only be a national issue, but to promote in our classrooms, people's space, people's items. If someone has left their items around, leave them. It is not your responsibility to shift them. They have not asked you to shift them. Okay? Acceptance of rights of others through promoting human rights initiatives and making sure that at the end of the day, your rights are upheld, but you don't have to abuse those rights. The humanity in others. Humanity in others, let me just quickly translate it quickly. It's called Akobutu. Akobutu. Okay? Knowing that at the end of the day, we made conflicts, but it does not take away the fact that we are humans and we are susceptible to mistakes. the humanity in others, knowing that people are going to conflict because by default we make mistakes. But you shouldn't hold it against me. Conflict resolution and peace building. Low levels of corruption, being exemplary, practicing ethical behaviors, being promoting accountability and transparency. People talk about corruption only in regards to those who receive the money. Not so? What happens to those who give the money? How do we call them? They are equally corrupt. Okay? They are equally corrupt. You who is giving the money and the person receiving the money, if it's fire, what of you should be lit on fire. But then that's what we're trying to avoid in this session. For you to stop corruption, you need to stop the flow of that corruption. Because no one is going to go into your pocket and get the money out of you. That is theft. That is, now you who is giving the money, stop giving the money. But why are you giving the money? Chances are high you want something to be done short and you're not being exemplary. You're looking for shortcuts, and when you're looking for shortcuts, chances are high you have to give the money. So who's promoting corruption? The person receiving or the person giving? The giver! Because chances are high you want a shortcut. You want that scholarship, but chances are high you don't have the points. Okay? You want that good life, but chances are high you don't qualify for it. So you want to give to get a shortcut. Ethical behavior as I write that down. Let me just quickly. Ethical behavior. This is something that is not much looked at. Ethical behavior, ethics and integrity. You can't separate integrity from ethics. You having the ability to say, me as an individual, how will people see me doing that? Okay? People very much attach this to religion as a person who succumbs to Islam. How will people see me taking this or behaving like this? Not so. You are religiously ethical. But how about in business? Okay? How about in business? As a Christian, how will people see me saying this or doing this? How about in business? Because at the end of the day, you may be the type that sleeps in overnights, but then you're the type that also works envelopes. Okay? We attach integrity and ethics on religion, but how about our business dealings? Our business dealings. Ethical behavior. Now, sound business environment. That is why I started. That's why I started with it and ended with it, because the transitions between the business environment. Encouraging ethical entrepreneurship. I don't know if that exists, but I will try to invent that. Ethical entrepreneurship. Ethical entrepreneurship. When you're starting a business, chances are high people want to start businesses in shortcuts. We're in entrepreneurship center and entrepreneurship university. They're going to tell you that for you to start a business as a business student, you need ABCD. But then because you don't want to go through the procedures, you're going to give encouraging ethical entrepreneurship. Can you start a business in the way it's supposed to be started? Not taking shortcuts. Because when you take shortcuts, you remove the word ethical and you leave it as encouraging entrepreneurship. If you need a license for your business, can you get one? So at the end of the day, when you see people in those polite jackets, you don't have to go hiding. Ethical entrepreneurship. You want to start up a business and you have a dream that your business will be the best business. But you don't want to go through the process of starting the business the way you're supposed to start it. So, you just remove the word ethical and just call it encouraging entrepreneurship. So, as peace builders, we need to encourage ethical entrepreneurship. Invest in local startups. Some of you have friends who have businesses, jewelry, those who are selling Rolexes and chapatis. Invest in those people. Someone who has a model of jewelry. You never know if you add money to them as your friend. Next time you know you will have a shop or a boutique. Not so? Hey. It's not a must that all of us have to start our businesses. But you can invest in your friend's business, terms and conditions will apply later. Not so? Invest in local startups. Not everyone is going to start up a business, but some of you already have the money, but you don't want to invest in your friend's businesses. So invest in your friend's businesses, local startups, corporate social responsibilities. Now this goes to the university kind of setup. If we have student leaders here. Now what we can do is, can you arrange a non-financial benefit to give back to your community? A non-financial benefit. When I talk about non-financially, I'm looking at the aspect of don't give money, but offer a service. Okay? Because at the end of the day, this is what Rotary is. Rotary or Rotary is all about. Benefits of positive peace, stronger resilience and adaptability. Okay? Chances are high by the time we're done with this session, you'll have a different understanding about peace. It means you will be in a better position to tolerate whoever is trying to take away your peace. After understanding that it's not simply the absence of violence, but the attitude, you will be more resilient and adaptability, and more adaptable to conflicts and whatever it is that we go through. Now, we all have, I don't want to call them chaotic friends, but we all have friends who are magnets of conflict. Wherever they are, chances are high there's going to be conflict. They are magnets of conflict. After this session, you'll be in a better position to say, you know what, so and so, please stay in lane. However much there is conflict, you don't have to go in this thing, okay? Resilience and adaptability, better environmental outcomes. Not every conflict should end in death. They can be resolved, okay? They can be resolved through the cross-cultural dialogues and all that. Higher measures of well-being, better performance on development goals, higher per capita income. When there is peace, as I say, if there is peace between her and him, or him and her, and he has a local business, and she has the money, chances are if she invests in his business, there is going to be peace. And when there is peace, the per capita income, and do we all know per capita income? Your money at your disposal, it's more of your disposable income. The per capita. At the national level, if you divide how much the government is getting as GDP, what your contribution is, that is your per capita income. Okay? So that is your contribution. But that can be made higher if you start doing these small things, investing in other people's businesses, having a peaceful environment, ethical entrepreneurship, and then before you know it, you'll have a better business environment. Finally, how do we be part of positive peace? How do we be part of positive peace? The first activity is to volunteer. These days everyone wants to work, and no one will work unless they are paid. Not so? We are looking for jobs. People are looking for jobs. And people are not going to work unless they are paid. But then, at the end of the day, if they're asking for a 5-year work experience, where are you going to get it? Where are you going to get it? And some of these concepts that we are teaching, they're not so much direct into our syllabus or our academia. So we can only get it through volunteering and making people understand that academics is here. I'm a university student. But then after the university, I will be here. And what you have studied in the university is very brilliant and good. But then what you're going to find outside the university is very practical, and chances are high it has not been taught while you're in class. This is what we're studying about peace, or the footprint of peace, and relating it to our academic institutions. The use of art and media, all of us here on social medias, so on different social media platforms. Can you use your social media handle not to spread fake news, but to be an agent of peace? Use of artists and media. So to those who have been spreading, and for your role is only to spread negative news, so and so has done this, I think the time is now for us to refrain from that. Can we start sharing positive things? I'm a member of so many groups, and I have certain numbers of earmarked. Whenever they post something, someone has died, someone has beaten the other, someone has stolen this, and those numbers I don't read their messages. Can you be the type that is going to share information that people are going to love? Okay? Information that is inspirational, motivational, and peaceful. Things that motivate people to do good. Promoting dialogue and understanding. Promoting dialogue and understanding. We don't how it is. Every conflict does not have to end into death. No, it doesn't have to end into death. It doesn't have to end into you going against my neck or looking for my throat. No. You can always promote dialogue and understanding. Now, promoting inclusion and diversity. That is why you find that, I don't know if you do those that does these things. If you're appointing people in different areas of leadership, make sure that different sectors have been included. That is why this university is an open university. It is not a Christian university. It is not a Christian. Because even with a Christian university, it's a Christian university. But when you go and you're of another religion, they will not stop you. But chances are high you have to do exactly what Christians do. Promoting inclusion and diversity. Institutions of higher learning should be open. They should be open. Whether you belong to which tribe or to which religion, that should not be an issue. Okay? So with that, whenever we have so many people of different backgrounds, it makes it easy for us to work. Leading by example. You cannot be promoting peace and then under there you're an agent of peace. On top here you're fighting corruption, and then you're one moving envelopes. No. Okay? We need to be leading by example. So, I would love to thank you so much for joining me in this session or in this learning experience. Now, we are free. As I said, it's a transformative session. This is something outside our academics. However, it has a direct relationship from when we're in school and when we leave school. Because at the end of the day, wherever you pass, people should be feeling your impact of peace. People should know that you're an agent of peace. Because at the end of the day, if you're a chaotic employee or employer, you will do what you can do. Okay? So, thank you so much for being attentive and quite an interesting audience. So now in case anyone has a question or anything, please, the floor is open. Or anything I've said that you think you need clarity on, you can just raise up your hand and then you can make a communication. Thank you so much.